Hi everyone, thanks for joining us today. I'm Karen Fowler from the International Biogeography Society, and joining me is Robert Whittaker, the Editor-in-Chief of Frontiers of Biogeography, and Mary Blair, one of the organizers for the special issues on transboundary conservation and climate change, and Lucille Levesque, who is joining us for tech help. So we're going to give a few minutes just for everyone to connect, and while we do, I'm going to go over some upcoming events and what this session will look like. So this is kind of towards the end of Humboldt, the International Humboldt Days week of events. Recordings we hope to have up next week at the humboldtday.org events page. So if you missed anything that you want to check out, I'd look there. I think we've got one more event from India, either depending on your time zone, later today or tomorrow. And then we've got the International Biogeography Society also has two upcoming conferences, a virtual early career conference in October, and a hybrid event in Vancouver in January of 2022. And you are more than welcome to join us for either. And Frontiers of Biogeography itself is going to have a presence at both. Rob is giving a workshop at the Early Career Conference and also a workshop at the Vancouver Conference. Slightly different topics, but Vancouver is going to be lovely. If you can, and they let us in the country, join us there.
Well, thank you, Karen. Hello, everybody. It's nice to be here and involved in the Humboldt Day week. I'm going to just talk for a few minutes about Frontiers of Biogeography, the journal of the International Biogeography Society, and particularly I'm going to today to just very briefly introduce the three special issues that we want to talk to you about today. And I'm going to talk about the call for papers for one of them. And then I'm going to hand over to Mary, who's going to be talking to you about one of those special issues. And after her, we have a further talk from Elevational on the other one. So there's three special issues of the journal that I'm going to talk about. First of all, we have mountains and elevational gradients special issue, which is the current issue, the September issue of the journal. And that's organized by Ole Vetas from the University of Bergen. And that is all published now, and I'll just show you that very briefly in a moment. Second, in the March issue, the first issue next year, we will have the transboundary conservation issue that Mary is going to be talking about shortly. And then the third special issue is going to be on citizen science biogeography. So I'd like to talk to you about that in just a few moments, because this is effectively opening the call for papers. But before I do that, I thought it would just be nice to show you the site, because I suspect that not everybody on the call will be familiar with the journal. Now, if this works, I should be able to share my screen. Karen, is that working?
Yep.
Fantastic. Okay, so this is just a quick look at the interface with Frontiers of Biogeography. If you see on the top right of the screen, this is the portal for submitting manuscripts. It's not the smoothest of portals, but it works. It's easy to get in, create an account, and you're away. So that is the submission site. And as you can see, it is also the site where you can find all the issues, including the articles in press. You can find all the information you need to know about the journal, including the identity of the editorial board, how to contact us, and policies on such things as the ethics, the ethical code that the journal follows. So here is, in fact, the September issue, which is carrying the mountain biodiversity and elevational gradients special issue. If you want to click on any particular paper, and I just opened another one, this is actually from the special issue. It's a paper by John Birks, which Ole will talk about very briefly in about 20 minutes. And here he's plotting out the upper elevational reach, the limit of plant species, the highest plant you find as a function of latitude north and south across the globe. And just below we have the list of the species involved. So it's a really nice review article by John Birks, and when you open the paper, as with each paper of the journal, you find there's an abstract, but there's also a series of, sort of bullet point highlights before you get into the main text. They're free to download. Anybody can click and download these papers. You can read them on screen, or you can download them as a PDF. So, and there's the information for authors. You can see the different types of manuscript that we cover, research articles, review papers, perspectives, correspondence, of course, book reviews. And we're very open to all forms of standard paper, including data papers. Important thing to note about this journal is that it is, I'm just going to stop sharing there, it is a gold open access journal. This Frontiers of Biogeography, which means anybody can read anything in the journal, and you don't have to pay to publish, which means it's really a platinum open access journal. Now, of course, like any journal, we do have costs to running the office and publishing. So we ask all those people who have funds specifically for publication, either from a research grant or just funds they can apply to, we ask that you do pay towards the publication costs. It's $300, which is incredibly cheap, or $150 if you are a member of the International Biogeography Society. And the way it works is that you contribute your paper. If it's accepted, we send you an invoice, and you either settle the invoice or you decline, and that's that. So there's no question about getting a waiver. If you ask for a waiver, you get it. So that's just a brief introduction to the journal. I'd now like to spend 2 or 3 minutes talking about the call for papers for citizen biogeography before I hand over to Mary to talk about the other special issue that we have in the pipeline on transboundary conservation. So we're opening a window for submissions for a special issue on citizen biogeography. It'll be open from 1st of October through to the end of February 2022, and we would like to compile these papers into an issue, we hope, for the end of 2022. But as with all papers in the journal, as soon as they are accepted for publication, we do publish them, first in manuscript form uncorrected, and then in proof form, and final manuscript formatted format, and then they just get compiled into issues as we go. So what is citizen science? Well, it's an expanding activity, and so we're seeking contributions of all sorts. There could be reviews, critical evaluations, analyses based on citizen science data. I think in the past we'd say most biogeographers have used professionally collected data for their publications, although there's always been amateur scientists contributing to biogeographical resources, to collections in museums and so forth. But these days, we have new ways of interacting with nature, and the latest generation of mobile naturalist apps such as eBird and iNaturalist are generating huge volumes of high quality, quantitative and contextualized biogeographical data at local, regional and global scales. And some of you may have seen a recent really nice paper in journal Biogeography, which was by the Sort and Sunville on the island biogeography of the eBird citizen science program. Really worth looking at that article. So we're getting increasing volumes of carefully curated, often freely available data that provide huge potential for advancing biogeography. And in particular, we can identify within this program 2 new subdisciplines. And one of them is eye ecology, which is seeking to quantify patterns and processes in the natural world using data accumulated in digital sources collected for other purposes, and conservation culturomics, which is concerned with the study of human-nature interactions based on the quantitative analysis of digital corpora. So we'd like to take a really broad look at citizen science in biogeography. And I'm going to be looking after this special issue alongside my colleague, Dr. Richard Ladle, a long-standing collaborator of mine. And if you have any interest in contributing a submission to this, this special issue, which we think will be really exciting, please do get in contact with me. I'm very easy to find. My email address is robert.whittaker@ouce.ox.ac.uk, and if you just put Robert Whittaker Geography Oxford into Google, you'll find it there. We will be posting an official call for papers through the Frontiers website and also through our Facebook links and through the IBS. So if anyone has any specific quick questions about this call for papers for citizen science biogeography, please just quickly pop them into the comments box, the chat box. I think that's the right way to do it, isn't it, Karen?
Either way is fine. We'll catch up.
And if you haven't quite got them ready right now, that's fine. We can take any questions after Mary's talk, which will start in just a moment. So just while we're waiting to see if there are any quick questions, I'll begin to introduce our 2 other speakers. So Mary Blair, together with Ming Zhu and Min Li, have organized this special issue on transboundary conservation, which makes extensive use of species distribution modeling techniques. I think there's some fantastic papers in the pipeline, some of which are already published and available through the website, through the Frontiers page. So she'll be talking for about 15 minutes. We'll then welcome your questions. I'll have a quick Q&A after Mary's presentation. And then we're going to have Ole Vetas talking about the mountains elevational and elevational gradient special issue. And just briefly to finally mention about that, Ole is going to be presenting on his own work within this framework of mountains and elevational gradients on the 29th of September, when he's giving the Funk lecture. So I see a hand up. Is that that's from Lucille?
Hi, yeah, I think so. I have a question for both you, Robert, and Mary, because Ule is not here, unfortunately, but I was curious to hear about what was your journey to become involved, to work with Frontiers and to work on a special issue?
What was my journey? I was, I think, president of the society when we decided to turn it from a newsletter into a journal. So I've been involved in in frontiers in a way from the beginning, but from a distance. And so I was intrigued to have a go at sort of running the journal for a while, when Joachim Hortal decided he needed to take a break from it for a while and go on to do other things. And this particular special issue really came about through Mary approaching us. So Mary, perhaps you'd like to comment about how you came to choose the journal.
Yeah, I'd love to. So I first found out about the journal actually through my postdoctoral advisor, Richard Pearson, who I mentioned before, and he suggested we submit a paper to Frontiers. I think it was soon after that it became a journal, many years ago. That was 2012 or 2013 or something. So I was aware of the journal since then. And the paper I published way back then was about applying species distribution models to conservation under climate change. And the journal was very, embraced this kind of in between of conservation biogeography, where it's both research and applied. And I really appreciated that back at that time when I was early career and feeling, welcomed to the journal with that focus. And so I thought of the journal again for this special issue, again, because it's sort of research and applied. It's very much conservation biogeography. And I knew that they would help us welcome very diverse authorship, including international authors and authors from different sectors, and really working with them to improve their papers to be suitable for the journal. So felt like exactly the right fit. And I was really pleased when Rob accepted our proposal for a special issue.
Yeah, I mean, I think for all of us involved in it, the idea of trying to provide an easy, supportive route to publication, where you don't have that uncertainty about will I get faced with that $1,500 bill for publication at the end of it? If you don't have the funds, it's really helpful to know that you can publish here without charge. And if you are contributing to the cost, it is a really cut price system. So, we want to be doing something for the community of biogeographers. And that's very much in line with the goals of the International Biogeography Society, which is trying to just, make the subject grow and bring people together internationally to do biogeographical science, preferably at least some of it relevant to solving real world problems.
We have
the open access aspect was also very important to us. So I want to highlight that as well. Sorry. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Mary, Ole, and of course, Karen. Thanks very much for organizing the session this afternoon or this morning, depending where you are.
And my thanks as well to both Rob and Mary for doing a very informative session. Thank you.
So, bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.